Real talk, raw truth, raging hearts. Welcome to From the Minds of Raging Brats. Like, share, and subscribe.
Hi, welcome to From the Minds of Raging Brats. I'm Heather.
And I'm Ashley.
How's your week?
My week is terrible. Like, usually I don't tell people this. I'm just like, it's a week, it's whatever. My week is fucking terrible. I have had a huge upheaval in my life, and I am panicking because that is what I do before I pull everything together and fucking fix it. But for right now, until Monday, I feel like I'm allowed to be in a little bit of a panic. When the week starts and all the businesses open and all the offices open and I have shit that I can go do, I'll stop panicking. How's your week?
I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place. I've been having a really good week for the most part, but I've had some emotional stuff just kind of hit me sideways. I've also had some realizations lock into place that brought some stuff up that I wasn't expecting. And so it's been interesting. Um, Also, my ex that I broke up with recently, like a few weeks ago, hit me up that he wants to try again, and I'm really confused about that. Like I don't understand, but we'll see. We'll see what life brings because I am trying to be more engaging with people in real life instead of hiding away online because anxiety is my current shadow. Um, but I've also been being honest with people. I even did a writing earlier today about my anxiety and how bad it gets and how oftentimes I have had people feel like they were being flaked on or ghosted when really it was just my anxiety that was like, absolutely not. I don't care what you want to do. We're not going any. I will make you puke. I will cause you pain. I will make your head explode. Like, you are not meeting this person. Not today. Not today. And so that's been interesting because it's been very well received. Like, people were like, oh my goodness, like, I didn't know that. And now knowing that, I feel like our interactions are, I feel a totally different perspective on many of our interactions. And I was like, that's good because I am a thoughtful and intentional person. My anxiety hates me and sometimes it runs the show.
Yeah. Yeah, at least you have the words to tell people what's going on.
Well, I didn't for a very, 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 very long time. And I have ghosted a great many people and been a flake on a great many people, not because of wanting to ghost or wanting to be flaky, but because my anxiety was like, them's the breaks, bitch.
Yeah.
And sometimes, after my anxiety takes over, I ghost not because I wanted to ghost, but because I'm embarrassed to come back and be like, hey, so because I feel like they're going to be like, yeah, eat shit.
I do understand that because I am definitely one of those people. I've been like, cool, you could have told me. Like, that's my biggest thing. Just fucking tell me that we're good. But if you just fail, I'm like a bad job. One no call, no show, and you're fucking out.
Well, and also I met somebody really nice this week when I was over at your house. The guy that I went and met and hung out with, super cool people. Like, I am super glad that he messaged me and was like, I just come to the area sometimes for work and I'm just looking for friends because I was so nervous to go meet him and he was so nervous to meet me, and it was almost like a joke when we got together because we were both so nervous. that it like broke the tension, and it just turned out to be a really great evening when normally I would have shut myself down and I would have just stayed there, and you and I would have like commiserated over our misery that night, being pissed off because of disappointment in Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
And instead, I have a new friend that like I'll get to hang out with when he comes to town, and that'll just be fun without worrying about expectations. Like,
Yeah.
that's such a hard thing for me, because when it's a relationship, like I don't know how to do tepid.
Yeah.
um I recently was told that I don't have shallow shoreline. I am just a deep ocean from the get. Like, if you can't swim, you're gonna drown before you even knew you were in an ocean.
I'd agree with that statement. Honestly, being your best friend, like I really do agree with that statement for you. Either you're gonna be willing to go deep within you and within yourself, or you're gonna drown. And it's either you're gonna get the fuck away from you, or you're gonna become bitter and hateful and jealous.
Yeah, because with love, with relationships like that, I am really kind of all encompassing. Yes, I need to be owned, as the test came back and was very accurate, but like by the same token, like any kind of ambiguity in the relationship and I immediately want to take control and take over dominance, not because I want to, but because I feel the need to in order to feel safe again. And I can't have on and off relationships that are kind of, no, I need somebody that is like, the minute they look at me, I can feel their eyes on me. I can feel how bad they want me. And the minute I look at them, they can feel that I am eating them alive. Like,
I think that's honestly a really great segue into what we are going to be talking about this week. So, would you
um,
like to tell our audience?
this week, actually, it has nothing to do with this week, hey people, but it will be a conversation for next week.
Oh, I didn't know we switched topics.
This week is specifically when education becomes blunt force. Personal responsibility isn't victim blaming. This is the topic that I told you about last weekend when we were hanging out at your house, about the conversation that I had with another CSAM essay victim that um, they were they actually had some good points, but in the conversation with me, they never got them across because they browbeat me with so much information trying to be right that I didn't read what they had to say until much later, because they
Okay, I
dysregulated me.
remember. Mm,
They had me completely dysregulated, and so I was checked out of reading, and so I was responding from an emotional place until I just stopped responding altogether and removed myself because I needed to regulate. And it took me days. And because FET is good about deleting whole comment threads,
yeah.
when comments are deleted, I always screenshot conversations as they're happening there. So I had the whole conversation to go back and read through when I was regulated. And like I said, when I was regulated, there were several good points that she had, but because of the way she came at the conversation, you're not getting anything through to me. And that was the problem. So that's where this conversation comes in, because she was constantly trying to say that I was victim blaming by saying, if you're on the internet and you are hit with content that triggers you and causes you trauma, as much as I agree that trigger warnings and posts like that that allow you to the option to look at something or not are helpful, I also know that it's not the world's responsibility to manage your triggers.
Yeah. And especially, I feel like if you are on a website that's far from the norm, it's not a vanilla thing, you are looking at an abstract lifestyle or things that are subnorm, you should be aware that you may see things that you're not going to like and could affect you.
Oh no,
And it is
this was
your
talking about mainstream
responsibility.
media.
Yeah. It's your responsibility to scroll on, to not look, to whatever it is. And you're on the internet.
Like specifically, she was talking about the Epstein files,
Yeah.
and how a lot of people that are not have nothing related to CSAM or anything. She specifically was talking about a cake website, a cake like Facebook or Instagram that she follows, that is using shock imagery to draw people in. And it was horrifying to her and triggered her into physical ailments, triggered her autoimmunes to flare up, and a lot of anxiety. And I'm not unsympathetic. You know how often I myself suffer from those exact things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not unsympathetic. However, I am also a huge advocate for personal responsibility. No, you didn't cause the trauma. You didn't ask it. It wasn't your fault. You didn't deserve it. And yet you still have it. So you can either do something about it or you can sit and complain, but that's not going to change the way the world treats you or the way the world goes about it. You complaining or browbeating people or throwing statistics at people to try to be right doesn't help. And realistically, if I had been regulated enough, I would have answered her much like I'm going to answer in this podcast, the information I'm going to deliver, because realistically, her statistics, some of them were accurate. Some of them are just cherry picked based on her perspective, because the overall statistics, like the statistics on trigger warnings and stuff, are a mixed bag. There's just as much proof that they help victims as that they trigger more anxiety, because then people know there's something anxiety inducing under that warning.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? It's almost like that with anything in psychology, because everybody's brain is different. So we can't guarantee it's going to react the same way for every person in every situation.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the world cannot be prepared to handle every single individual on an individual basis. I wish it was that way, because then a lot of us would be able to function much healthier. But the reality is, it's like talking about the anxiety with the meeting people. Like, I struggle with that, but that is not the world's problem. That is my problem that I have to figure out how to resolve. And I have to figure out how to interact with the world on the world's terms with my anxiety.
Yeah.
So with that being said, moving in to the beginning of this episode, before we get into the meat of this episode, I just want to set the tone clearly. This is not a call out. This is not a personal feud. And this is not me trying to win an argument on the internet. This is a conversation that happened in real time on a public platform, and it hit a nerve for me. Not because the other person was entirely wrong, but because the way they communicated their perspective became its own form of harm. And that's what this episode is about.
Yeah. And this is something that happens a lot on the internet. It happens a lot between families, like even some friendships. Like literally the tone and how you go about a conversation can completely change how that conversation is going to go.
Yep. And sometimes it's just a misunderstanding. Like sometimes somebody brings you something heavy, like you bringing me something heavy, and maybe say in that moment a word triggers a disassociation. And so I don't respond as empathetically as I would normally. And then
Yeah.
you feel like you weren't heard, or like I didn't care. But in that moment, it was not that. It was just that situations made it appear that way. And oftentimes that happens in everyday conversations.
Yes. And it is so hard when you're talking to somebody on the internet because you're not getting like the influx of their voices. You're not seeing their facial expressions. You are almost in your brain building up what is happening that in that situation in your mind. You don't know the tone of their voice. You do not know what they were actually saying, or at least it's a lot harder to know when you're having a conversation on a screen.
Well, and if it can happen between people that know each other their whole lives, people that don't know each other at all, you don't know anything about that other person's communication style. So you literally have no context on how to receive that. So you're going to receive it based on your own bias.
Very true.
Because one of the most frustrating, exhausting, and honestly damaging things happening online right now is this. People are confusing education with blunt force. They are confusing advocacy with emotional domination. They are confusing I have sources with I get to bulldoze your nervous system. And I'm going to say something that people will hate. Even if your position is morally correct, you can still be unethical in how you deliver it.
No, of course.
Even if your argument is factually supported, you can still be psychologically harmful in how you deploy it.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
even if you are a survivor, you can still re-traumatize other survivors by the way you speak. And that is not tone policing. That is reality.
No, I've been guilty of doing the same exact thing, especially when I was younger and honestly did not care how my words were taken. Like, I've definitely been guilty of that before.
Me too. I think every person has. And honestly, sometimes you just care more about some conversations than others.
Yes.
It's just, that's the reality. As a human being, some things interest you more than others.
Yep.
The argument started around something that is on its face not controversial. The circulation of graphic material online, including abuse imagery, can re-traumatize survivors. Yes, that is true. That part is not up for debate. There are survivors who are still alive, still navigating life, and who may be ambushed by reminders of what was done to them. And let me just insert right there, that's not part of what I have wrote down, but let me just insert right there that with the amount of victims that are yet unaccounted for, we don't know what happened to them. So they could be somebody out there living their life that you don't know, that had a name change and tried to disappear into their life. And they're seeing this, and every day it is re-traumatizing for them.
Yeah.
So I want to be clear that I am not unsympathetic to that. I am not disregarding the children that were harmed in those files, or the adults, because adults were harmed as well. Not everybody that was harmed was a child. And I haven't even opened the files, so don't think that I know what's in there. I don't, by choice, because of my own trauma history. I choose to not partake in that currently. And the things that I am getting are slow feeds through sources that I trust their delivery of. Will I follow up later when I am in a mental headspace to do so and make sure that those are factual? Yes. But it's helping me like take small doses of it without actually getting head on exposure before I choose to do that. And as a podcast host, we fully intend to at some point talk about that. But
Hey, I've gotten into it, and as somebody that is your best friend and knows quite a bit of your trauma, don't fucking do it. Don't. I kind of wish I had it, but it's in my head now. So
well,
just
it
don't.
would be irresponsible of me, since we made a commitment to do a series on that, to not, but it won't be at the cost of my mental health.
Yeah, exactly. Don't do it now. Don't do it until down the road.
Yeah. There are children depicted in imagery who may grow up and discover that their worst moment is being redistributed endlessly like it's a political meme. There are people with PTSD who can be thrown into flashbacks by unexpected exposure. Those points are valid. And she was trying to make them, but I couldn't hear them because she was browbeating me with so much data points and information trying to win. She was not talking to me compassionately like another survivor, saying, I hear your viewpoint, but this is where I feel like we could do better or do different. Instead, she was like, I hear your viewpoint and fuck that. This is what needs to happen. And that doesn't work for me.
This, and I don't know, I wasn't privy to this argument. I didn't see the profile or anything like this, but this sounds to me like a very immature way of thinking about it, that I haven't gotten healed yet and I'm still young enough to not be able to see both sides. Again, I don't know, but because it sounds a lot like how I was in my early 20s, just outright refusing to see anybody else's point of view.
I don't know the person well enough to know, but from the interaction that I had, my take was that this person was severely dysregulated for a prolonged amount of time. And when you are dysregulated, you are in fight or flight. You can't see anybody else's perspective. It's not that you don't want to. You literally cannot. Your brain will not allow that.
Yep. I do remember those days.
And so that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because I didn't want to go back in and be like, okay, I hear your points and here's what's valid and here's what you did wrong. I was just saying that her points were valid, but she wasn't getting them across with how she delivered it. And I feel like it was because she was dysregulated. And that's the same reason why I wasn't able to hear her points in the moment and give her honest feedback.
And yeah, I get that. I know when I'm not regulated, especially if I'm passionate, I probably don't make the most sense all the time either. So I'm sympathetic to that part of it.
But I do want to be clear. I am not denying any of the points that she made. In fact, I want to state something up front that I think needs to be said more often. A content warning is a courtesy that can prevent unnecessary harm. And in a perfect world, it would be the standard.
Yes.
But the disagreement wasn't about whether warnings are helpful. The disagreement was whether the world is obligated to provide them, and whether the absence of them means survivors are being excluded from public space. Because I told her that I take space from the files because it won't help me right now. I take space online when something triggers me, like I did from her conversation. And she took that as victim blaming and as telling her that she had to get off of all access to online, which apparently is her only access to socialization. That is not what I am saying. I am saying remove yourself from the specific content or person. I am saying remove yourself from what is triggering you. Give yourself some healthy space doing a different activity, a different website, a different person to talk to, and then come back when you're regulated and make your point.
Yeah. See, I guess I'm gonna play like devil's advocate like here because I do specifically know which website you're talking about. So me when I'm on certain websites, I don't put trigger warnings on things. You
I don't.
are you are in a space where I feel like you should know you could see stuff that you're not gonna like, and especially with certain like groups and stuff I talk to, it posted all over my page if I like post a discussion. I'm in websites that are talking specifically about very dark things.
Well, that was
It,
kind of the thing that also triggered me in the conversation was the point that was made was that that website that we were on was the safest of websites out of all that this person visits. That it's the average websites like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok that are causing the most harm to this person.
yeah, well, I don't know. I recently, in the last few months, have seen some things on there that I stopped and I was like, it didn't trigger me or anything, but I was like, how the fuck did you end up here? You don't belong on this website. I know where you do belong because I visit those websites too, but it's not here.
Yeah,
But I still do not feel like it is other people's responsibility to put a trigger warning on something. Is it nice? Yes. It is so nice when people think about things like that. Do they have to? This is America, baby. We don't got to do shit when it comes to our free speech.
Well, and we were talking globally, so not just here, but
Yeah.
for me, censorship, I'm against censorship, first of all.
Yeah.
I don't have to like what you like. I can be fucking appalled by what you like. That's a you thing, baby. But I learned a long time ago how to keep scrolling. I'm definitely part of the Gen X really don't give a fuck. If it ain't my thing, it ain't my thing. If it's your circus and your monkeys, have at it.
I've been on the internet a long time, and that shit has offended me from day one on the internet. And I was just like, okay, scroll real fast, then we'll forget about it. Maybe the image will blur. We don't have to see it all. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and like specifically, I made a point of there's a lot of things on the internet that a lot of even you have told me, hey, I saw this on Facebook, and I was like, really? Or people will tell me, I saw this on TikTok, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
My FYP on all of my social medias is so refined. All I ever get is spiritual messages, funny memes, positive affirmations, and how to improve your life shit. I do not get the random occasion where I might get something gory or graphic. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I'm uninterested, and that shit never shows up again.
Yeah, see, mine is a mix of smut, positive
Oh, I got that too.
energy stuff, ideas and stuff, and then it not very much gory stuff pops up anymore because I just don't care about that stuff anymore. I'm like, cool. I have enough shit going on in my own head. I don't need to see it. But every once in a while, something will pop up, and I'm like, I thought this was like people watching everything to make sure this shit didn't happen because there are literal children on this website. Like, but hey, and I don't report it. That's the thing. I don't push report. I'm just like, nope. You'll go away, and then I won't see anything again for a while unless it's something huge happened. And then I'm like, oh, okay, now I know what happened. Go away.
I don't know if it involves scat, kids, or animals and weird shit or incest. I'm reporting.
Yeah, okay, no, if it's that, I'll fucking report it. But I mean, like, if it's like somebody getting murked, I'm like, sucks to be them. Let's scroll. Now I know it happened. But if it's any of the stuff you mentioned, I'm like, report it. Where's the FBI? Like, fuck you people. That's not like that I can let go. But that's horrible. Do something to a care dog, like, die, motherfucker. Like, but all the other shit where I'm like, I bet they did something horrible. That's why that happened.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I have seen too much in real life bad stuff over the course of my life that kind of stuff happens, and I'm like, ooh, you pissed off the wrong people.
Exactly. I know that's wrong, but yes.
Where
Anyway.
the argument shifted into something else, what I kept trying to communicate over and over was actually very simple. Two things can be true at the same time. One, survivors deserve compassion, consideration, and warnings when possible. Two, survivors also deserve tools, boundaries, and agency because the world will not always be compassionate. Like we teach our kids. Like, I'm here to be your safety net while you're a kid because guess what? The world sucks. So, like, take advantage of me while you have me.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
And that was the whole point. Like, that was the whole point I was trying to get across, and her level of dysregulation could not hear that. So they kept reframing my position as, if you tell survivors to remove themselves, you're victim blaming. And that's where the conversation broke down, because I fundamentally disagree with that framing.
Yeah.
Not because I don't understand trauma. Not because I don't care about survivors. And not because I think retraumatization is their fault. But because I think it is profoundly dangerous to teach survivors that their only safety comes from other people behaving perfectly. Listen to me. If that were true, you wouldn't be a victim. You wouldn't be a survivor.
Yeah.
The world doesn't behave. I thought you learned that.
And if you look at any like shrink that deals heavily with people with PTSD or CPTSD or anything like that, one of the first things they try to teach you is you advocate for yourself. You need to learn to say no. You need to learn to say, no, I won't fucking watch it. I won't be around this. No, I will get myself out of these situations so it is never in somebody else's hands again. Because now I know how to do it for myself.
Yep. And let me tell you, that is not safety. That is dependency. And dependency on a world that is already proven harmful to you, that is not protective. That is self-harming.
Yeah.
What people mean when they tell you to protect your peace, because that is a phrase that gets used so often, and people use it both as like a guide and as a weapon. But the phrase protect your peace, while it can be weaponized, it can be used to dismiss people, it can be used to avoid accountability, but it can also be one of the most powerful trauma recovery principles in existence when it is used correctly. When people say remove yourself, the healthy version of that is not go disappear because you're too fragile. The healthy version is you are allowed to take control of your environment. You are allowed to choose what you consume. You are allowed to exit situations that destabilize you. You are allowed to regulate your nervous system before you respond. That is not victim blaming. That is empowerment. That is literally what therapy teaches. And I am not saying that as an internet opinion. I'm saying that as someone who has been in therapy, has done the work over and over again, still doing the work, because guess what? Healing is a fucking spiral, not linear, and bitch, every time you think you've healed something, you're gonna fucking meet it up again in a newer, deeper, more intense way.
Oh, yeah.
Just saying.
That's the thing. Like, it's either a spiral or it's a spiral. Either way, it's fucking twisting and turning.
And has seen what happens when you stop trying to force the world to be safe and instead learn how to make yourself safe. Like, bro, that's what I do every day. I have to make myself safe in a world that feels unsafe and dysregulating.
Yeah.
And some
Like,
days, guess what? I lose. I don't know how to do it. And I stay in my bed and I don't even talk to people on the internet. I just hide.
yeah, I definitely understand that.
And on those days, it's even harder because I still want to interact. So I'll like post writings. That way I feel like I've made an interaction with the world. And then people start messaging me and I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah, yeah. See, I definitely get that. Like, I'm used to being able to disappear. You know, you're one of the people that know the best that there are times where I fucking for like 6, 7 days, no internet, no talking to anybody, just I can't do that right now. And there are days where I'm like, talk to me. Why do I have to talk to them? And I'm like, this is your fault. You have nobody else. Talking to somebody, even in small increments, is good for me, even when I'm like, please.
Yeah, but sometimes, honestly, as hard as those situations are, sometimes those forced situations like work when you're overwhelmed and you still have to fucking be at work talking to people, shit like that, those force you into learning new self-regulating tools. And then eventually you're like, it's like Valentine's Day. Walking into that bar, you know me. 2 years ago, I'd have cried and we'd have not made it to the bar to
Yep.
get a drink. I'd have left. I'd have left you standing there and I'd have been crying, walking home by myself. You'd have been like, what the
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I didn't do that.
that's like the situation I just had, like, because I felt like my temperature go up, and then I would just perfectly calmly talk to them. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, I understand, like, did everything I needed to do, like, and I walked out of there, I was like, oh man, if this had been a few years ago, some very bad things could have happened to quite a few people because you put me in a confined room to give me that news. No, like, by the time I got home, I was like, I think something's wrong. I'm not limit the fuck out of crying or like anything. You're like, this might be safe. This might be a very good thing for you. But it was
Yeah,
definitely
for
a
the first
moment
day.
of I was like, ooh, I can regulate in a different way now.
I feel like because yeah, you are at a place where you're starting to learn more regulation tools, but I feel like you needed that break from your emotions. Uh, and if you would have had to deal with all of your emotions immediately after, I feel like, yeah, that would have been a trip to jail.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that would have been a complete, like, because, you know, my brain, bad things happen, and then it immediately goes, now we're completely fucked. That would have been a self-fulfilling prophecy right there if I would have flipped out the way I wanted to.
Yeah, but you're maturing and you're learning new tools and you're self-regulating. And also in the process, you're teaching your son that life can go drastically wrong according to your plan and you can still regulate and get through it and not destroy your life, which is not your go-to.
No, I got a long self-sabotaging streak. But my brain doesn't seem to let me do it anymore. Like, like I told you at one point, it almost feels like I'm starting to run into the bad direction, and then the new mindset, like, stomps on my cape and, like, rips me backwards mid-run sometimes, but it's nice. I do prefer this version, even if it's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. So here's the part people don't want to admit because it feels unfair. It is unfair, but it's also true. Like, trauma recovery requires you to take responsibility for your own regulation. Not because what happened to you was your fault, not because you deserved it, not because the world was right for being cruel, but because the world is not going to stop being the world.
As one of my favorite quotes goes, your trauma was not caused by you, but it is still your responsibility to heal it.
Yeah. And if your recovery depends on strangers on the internet behaving ethically at all times, you will never be free.
No.
You will always be at the mercy of the next person who doesn't care. And that is not healing. That's a damn hostage situation with yourself.
Yeah, and it's a dangerous one to play. It really is.
Yeah, well, I don't know anybody that really wants to be in a hostage situation.
Well, no, but the longer you do it to yourself, the harder and harder it makes healing and being able to move past those things and move on with your day when you see something you don't like on the internet.
Yeah. I mean, unless it's seen, and then yes, take me hostage.
Hey, baby.
Sorry. This isn't theoretical for me, though. I'm not sitting here speaking from a podium. I'm speaking from lived experience. I have been re-traumatized so many times in my life, and it still happens on the daily. I've been triggered in ways that made my body react before my mind even knew I was triggered.
Yeah.
And what changed my life wasn't the world becoming kinder, because trust me, it hasn't.
Not by a single fucking inch.
If anything, the world has gotten crueler and less caring the longer I live. What changed my life was me building tools. I've done therapy, I've done EMDR, I've done body work, I've done the nervous system work, and the difference has been massive. Like, I told somebody today, I know this is going to sound funny, but I literally have gone to the darkest corners of my soul, pulled those fucking demons up by their fucking shirt collars and said, "Fight me, bitch." Guess who's still here standing?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I've had several people ask, and like, you would have had to know the person I was even before Heather knew me to understand why most people were asking this question. But they're like, how did you change? Why did you change? Like, it was like an overnight thing. I was like, it was not a fucking overnight thing. It may have seemed like that to you, but it wasn't. But what finally happened, and I feel like this is most people's thing when they were highly traumatized, wild as fuck, like did drugs, like anything like that, is I got tired of myself. I honestly, like, a lot of people were tired of me before that and were like, you're out of fucking control. You're gonna die one day. Somebody's gonna fucking kill you because your mouth. Didn't care. One day I was just like, I don't think I like me. I don't think I want to be doing any of this anymore. Like, it finally took me getting tired of my own bullshit because I didn't give a damn if anybody else was tired of my shit. And some of that was a victim mentality. Yeah, it was a survivor's mentality, but there was a little bit of, why does this shit keep happening to me? It was my fucking fault.
It's really hard to get out of that when you're dysregulated.
It is. I'm not saying it's easy by any means.
Because it does feel like the world is happening to you.
Yes. Especially if that's always your mindset. I didn't do anything wrong. Why is this happening?
But from a empowered perspective, it's not this is happening to me, this is happening around me, and I can either choose to participate or remove myself. The choice is mine.
Dude, I remember when I wrecked my car and you pulled up and I was like, I gotta find a fucking lesson out of this, like, cause otherwise this is just happening and I don't like that. And you're like, sometimes that happens. I'm like, nah, shut up. I'm like, there's a lesson here somewhere. Cause that's what I need to see. I don't need to just see sometimes bad shit happens. You're like,
Honestly, It was a catalyst for where you're at today.
Yeah, it really, really was. Oh God, I can't imagine if I would have lost my job back then. That would have been all fucking bad. But I've gone through a lot of stressful situations and learned how to deal with myself and with the world around me better with each one.
Well, and think about it. After that happened, you did lose your job. And
I
that's how
did.
you ended up in this job.
Oh no! First, I
I
lost
mean,
that
they
job.
didn't fire you. You left it, but
Yeah, yeah. Still, you are right. Like that was the change of a lot. It seems to be something really bad happens before like my life takes a huge change every few years. So at least I'm getting experienced at it. Like I don't flip out anymore. I'm just like, cool, cool. Next chapter, apparently.
actually, when I look back at what you've been through and the jobs you've had recently, in the last few years, since COVID, there's definitely a very significant pattern that has each job has helped you grow in different ways as a person, and it's helped you regulate in different ways as a person for your mental health.
I definitely agree with that. Like, I think a lot of it is I don't just choose any job. Like, I could go down to McDonald's and get a job tomorrow and probably be a manager and make exactly what I was making before. Am I willing to put myself in that situation and trash my mental health? Not yet. We will see. We will give it a week or two. Probably not.
I think you don't give yourself enough credit for what you could do if you just put your mind to it.
Oh yeah,
Um,
if I can take myself out of panic mode, I'm golden. It just takes me a day or two.
and this is one of those few instances where having severance gives you a safety net that most people never get. So
I am
instead of,
so thankful for that, I will say.
I know it's hard not to panic, but maybe when you start to panic, think about it instead of panicking, think about the fact that you have a rare opportunity to really think about what you want to do next and then pursue it while not risking your roof over your head or the food in your belly.
Yeah. Yeah, that is I've never had a job that gave me severance. So this is a rare and welcome little bit of a cushion to at least give me a few days to a week to figure it the fuck out. Whereas before it's always been like, nope, you're fucked and you're fucked now. So this is not nice, but it's nicer than what I'm used to. So
Yeah. And just maybe holding that perspective is just like I said, that's a regulation tool. It doesn't mean that life is fucking perfect. It just means learning how to regulate with the circumstances you're given rather than expecting circumstances to bend to you.
definitely agree.
Not because chaos disappears from my life, because it sure doesn't. Not because the world suddenly started giving content warnings, but because I learned how to regulate myself, because I learned how to walk away and come back later, which is a huge one for me. I learned how to set boundaries that didn't require anybody else's permission. You know, I used to be a very big people pleaser, had to check in. And now, unless you're somebody that I really care about, bro, I can leave you on red and not feel bad. Not
Yeah.
that I'm trying to do that to people, but if life happens and you get left on red, I don't feel bad about that. I'll get back to you when I can. And if you feel bad because you got left on red until I can get back to you, then you weren't part of my people anyway. So bye.
Yep. Yeah, that's basically the point I got to. Like, I don't keep very many people in my lives, but the ones I do, they know I'm not ghosting you. I just need a fucking minute.
And I have people, like I told you, I got into the profile I haven't used in 5 years, and I had people messaging me like, hey, I'd like to continue the conversation.
Yeah.
It's been
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah, Dude, I'm talking to right now, like, he been messaging me for literally over 4 years. Never said shit to him. He still stayed on my page. He still every so often he's like, hey. And then one day, like, he commented on something. I was just like,
Hi.
ew. You seem interesting. He's like, why now? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, and he showed me like the message receipts of the first message he ever sent me, and it was literally almost 5 years ago. I was like, oh damn.
You're like, well, you're persistent.
In which I love.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. Anyways. And I want to say this carefully because I don't want it twisted. I'm not saying survivors should just get over it. That's never what I've said.
No.
I'm saying survivors deserve to be equipped to handle the world as it is. So now let's talk about the real reason this episode exists. The thing that mattered most wasn't even the debate about trigger warnings. It was what happened inside the conversation, because what I experienced was not dialogue. It was a flood. It was paragraph after paragraph after paragraph of moral framing, academic framing, legal framing, trauma science framing, formal logic framing. And every time I tried to respond, it wasn't received as a response. It was received as something to be corrected. And that is where education stops being education.
Yeah. Then it just becomes
it becomes coercion, bro. You're not trying to get me to see your point of view. You're trying to make me bend to your point of view. That becomes, I'm going to wear you down until you submit. And I need people to hear this. That communication style is absolutely not trauma informed in any way.
No, not at all.
It is not compassionate, and it sure as hell is not safe. Even if the subject matter is trauma.
Yeah.
Because what it does is overwhelm the nervous system of a person you're speaking to. It creates a power imbalance. It turns the conversation into a courtroom, and you are the prosecutor and the other person is guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be in that position. And if you're doing that to another survivor, congratulations. You are recreating the exact power dynamic you are claiming to oppose.
Yeah. I think, in a lot of people that this is part of their mannerism. It goes back to that victim mentality. So much happened to me that nobody else could understand what I'm feeling. Like, I'm the only one that could have gone through this, because you know what? I will be the first one to say I am the type of person to be like, don't tell me what the fuck I'm thinking. Don't tell me what the fuck I'm feeling, because my emotions are mine. They're my own process. And they are. But that doesn't mean nobody else has gone through what I've gone through. Nobody else, can't sympathize. I'm just, yes, your thought process, your emotion, they are yours, but that doesn't mean nobody else can get an inkling of it. And they have gone through it, and they do have their own problems. You are not the only person.
Right. People acting like that, it perpetuates continual victimhood, not strengthens survivorhood. The irony that made me take space. Here's what I did, and I'm proud of it. I took space. I disengaged. I regulated. I didn't keep firing back. I didn't spiral into a 3-day internet war. I stepped away for 2 days, came back when I was calmer, reread everything. And then I responded in a longer form piece where I could be thoughtful instead of reacting. And in other words, I posted a writing about my response instead of responding to the person. I just just like I'm responding now with this episode, with how I feel about it. I did that in writing form as well. And that right there is the entire point. That was me practicing what I preach. Because if I had stayed in the conversation, I would have continued getting more dysregulated and it would have turned into stupidity. And then I would have said things I didn't mean. And then it would have become way uglier. And then I would have been pulled into the exact chaos the other person was creating. So I did the most trauma-informed thing I could do. I removed myself. And that's why it is insane to call that victim blaming. I actually went back later and removed all of my comments because commenting from a stance of dysregulation didn't make me look any healthier than they were. And it was just provoking it. It left all of their comments, which I think was great because, like, anybody that really feels like just reading, there were some good points that she had in there. Yeah. There were also some harmful statements and a lot of statements that were, I'm going to win this and you're going to submit. But there were some points in there that were valid and very much needed to be heard. So here's what we're doing today. We're talking about why trigger warnings are complicated and the research is mixed, why shock content can be harmful and also historically has motivated change, why personal responsibility is not the same as blaming, why survivors deserve both compassion and coping skills, why awareness that retraumatizes people isn't awareness, it's performance, and why the way you educate matters as much as what you're educating about. Because I am not interested in internet purity contests. I'm interested in real healing, and real healing requires both sides of the coin. So if you're listening and you're already defensive, I want you to pause and breathe. Because this episode is not survivors need to shut up. Ever.
No. We wouldn't have a podcast if that was our stance.
Yeah. This episode is survivors deserve compassion and survivors deserve power. And power comes from agency. And if your worldview requires survivors to remain dependent on the internet behaving correctly in order to feel safe, that worldview may be well-intentioned, but it is not liberating. It is a cage with a velvet ribbon on it. And I actually have quite a bit more on this topic, but we got a lot more engaged in it than we have been in past weeks. So I think we'll probably expand on it next week and then continue our other conversation that we were talking about later. But this is important. Like, so many messages are out here trying to browbeat people into submission with their truths, their facts, their statistics. And while we try to leave like links for statistics and facts when we're talking about specific factual things, it is so that you can further do research and investigate on your own, not because I'm saying this is the only thing, the only perspective. We have said it before. If you are here, if you're here, we want you thinking for yourself. We want you questioning our perspective as much as your own.
Yes. Always. We're just two people on the internet, man. Go do some research.
We are just two people on the internet doing some research, living life with some experience. I also tend to understand other people's emotions very well. I understand therapy concepts sometimes better than my therapist, just not when applied to me. So when I'm giving advice from a third-party perspective, I'm usually giving very compassionate advice. If I'm not compassionate about something, it's because I'm coming from my bias.
I cannot say the same. But that's
And
fine.
that's what makes us a good team, because we are similar, but we are very different in our approach to life.
That is true.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this week. I'm sorry we're a week late. There won't be a gap for the 2 weeks that we're doing for all the other episodes through March. There will be an episode next week as well, since we missed last week. And then we will be back on track, and then we'll be back to weekly in April.
Yes.
So we'll see y'all later. Have a great week. Bye.
Bye.
We're also available on Spotify. We said what we said, and we're just getting started. Thanks for listening. Now go rage responsibly. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.